Hello, my Grottengets, and welcome back to another episode of Happy Crumpin' Wargaming. It's been a few days since I posted a video. We had a boys' weekend where we rolled dice, we drank beer, we ate burgers for every single meal for the weekend, and we watched the entire trilogy of Lord of the Rings, and it was an amazing weekend, and if you haven't had one of those in a few years, I highly recommend you gather your group of Grottengets and you guys have a Lord of the Rings weekend yourselves. Anyway, let's get back to the world of Warhammer. In this game, we have some crappy situations that we really need to learn how to avoid. I love this game. You love this game. But every single one of us have run into these scenarios where it's like, there's no fixing this. So I'm going to talk about what some of those scenarios are and how we're going to avoid them in order to make sure that we can just continue to play well and have fun with the game that we know and love. So let's hop right into the very first thing I want to talk about. This is Gaz cannot fight. And this does not apply only to Gaz Kultharaka. So for all of those of you who think this is just an orc video, it's not. My other examples basically have nothing to do with orcs. But this is one that'll happen quite a bit. So Gaz has a base that is like 3.1 inches long, which means on a pile-in, he actually cannot go through a wall or on a consolidate. So there are going to be scenarios in the game where this guy actually just can never pile in or can never consolidate because his base is actually too big to make it through a ruin, even though he has the infantry keyword, which can lead to some serious feel bad. So I'm just going to show you on TTS what this actually kind of looks like, and so that you guys can, know what it looks like, see how to avoid positioning yourself in this scenario so you don't ever have to really end up in this scenario. And TTS, here we go. Magic. All right, so essentially what I did here is I got some Death Company Marines who just kind of charged into a unit of mega armored knobs, and they are led by, of course, Mr. Gaz Kultharaka and his trustiest git, Makari. So in this scenario, we have like our Death Company Marines, all right? And they charge in and they're going to want to be killing things. And the mega knobs, and let's say they completely whiff, or I fought somewhere first and the orc player wants to interrupt. Well, now he's forced to do something a little bit interesting. So this guy is going to have to be, if he wants to pile in, he's going to have to pile in his 3 inches. Then we can have, say, this guy, or like this guy pile in his 3 inches. So he ends up getting closer. Gazkul can move 3 inches, but if you look at his base, he actually cannot get through the wall because his base is too fat. He might be the Kool-Aid man, but he needs to lose some weight. So it's impossible for Gaz to actually pile in through the wall. So if he's standing right here with his butt against the wall, still can't do it. It is very, very frustrating and also very, very true. So he has to come this way. Well, once he comes this way, he ends up being outside of an inch of this Death Company Marine, which means he will not be allowed to fight. So then we have all these mega knobs which do their business. Let's say this Death Company Marine is going to end up dying. On the consolidation, this dude's going to have to come up and base me. So we end up in a scenario where, once again, Gaz will probably not be able to fight once we kill a few other Death Company Marines. So then in the next turn, let's say we fight. Let's say Death Company whiff again. Gazkul can't pile in this way because this is the closest model, 1.9 inches. He can't end up further away from the closest enemy model. So if he moves 3 inches over here, he's going to end up further away, which means he can't come around this end to try to attack these guys because the rules for pile-ins and consolidates say that you have to end the movement closest to the closest enemy model. So effectively what happens is we end up in a scenario where Gaz cannot activate and he can never move through this wall because he's too damn fat. This is probably better illustrated if I put like a unit of 20 Gretchen or 20 orc boys here, just something the mega knobs will never be able to chew through. You can effectively just say, sorry guys, you don't get to play the game because you're too fat. And it is a annoying scenario to ever end up in. So, how can we avoid this? We're identifying problems, but we also want to, identify solutions. So let's do something like this. Instead of having Gaz in the corner over here, we're going to want to position Gaz over here. Because now Gaz will always have the opportunity to start doing his pile-ins this direction and piling in over this way. So you don't want Gaz to be positioned in the corner of these ruins because that will lead to these unplayable scenarios, which really, really sucks. Now let's talk about the next thing on the list. PowerPoint view, and here we go. All right, cool. So the next one that I really want to talk about is something that actually came up this past weekend, which just really illuminated something I've spoken about a little bit before, but it's just a great scenario that I'm going to show you guys how to really just exploit and make sure that you don't get caught by this either. So there's a thing called Overwatch bait. One of the things that happens in this game is Overwatch, which is a very, very powerful ability, can just completely ruin enemies' movement phases. It can ruin enemies' shooting. It can ruin a lot of stuff, especially when you have an army that is really, really good at Overwatch, such as the Thousand Suns that I'm going to feature in just a second when we go back to the TTS view. Now, there are some limitations on the Overwatch strat. They only get one shot. So if you're playing against an opponent who has a very powerful Overwatch, one thing you have to keep in mind is that they only get to do it once. So what you really typically need to do is, if there's no way for you to avoid the Overwatch, you have to bait the Overwatch where you want it. And I saw a really good scenario between two of the players that were at the house this weekend. And we kind of coached through a few moments to kind of show how to really avoid the Overwatch when you can't actually avoid the Overwatch. And it's really, really nice. One other thing is I want to mention before I demonstrate this scenario so that you guys can understand how to do this is I wanted to talk about on the other side. So if you are the person who has the really strong Overwatch, sometimes, and just bear with me here, guys, sometimes the threat of overwatching is way, way better than actually overwatching, which can sometimes be a little hard to wrap our minds around, which is why I'm going to give you a very illustrative example right the heck now. So we'll just pop back over to the TTS view. So basically what I've got set up here is I've got Magnus, the red, of course, because he's the reddest of the reds, and he's got a unit of Rubric Marines with the Infernal Master right here. So this is more or less the scenario that we ended up in this weekend when two of these players were playing this matchup. And essentially what happened is the guy dropped a 20-man blob of Neophyte hybrids, and he had a Primus in it, and there's some buffs. So effectively what was going to happen is this unit can shoot really darn hard because they're going to get some full rerolls. They're going to be +1 ballistic skill. They're going to be +1 to wound, ignoring cover, +1 AP. And Magnus does not want to get hit by this because it could potentially kill him. So the natural reaction for the Thousand Suns player would be to overwatch with this Rubric Marine squad and the Infernal Master, because once he does that, he can probably just kill this entire 20-man blob just with that one overwatch, which would neutralize the threat to Magnus the Red. But we found ourselves in a scenario where the Thousand Suns player really couldn't do it, because if he used his overwatch on this, the GSC player just very quickly and very easily goes, okay, cool, I will 3-inch deep strike with my Acolytes, who have a way stronger shooting phase than the Neophytes, and then I will just automatically, without even trying, kill Magnus, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So effectively, what happened is the Thousand Suns player had to decide, what is he going to do? Is he going to kill these Neophytes, or is he going to let the Neophytes get their shooting off, so once these Acolytes drop down, he gets to overwatch and kill them instead? It is a pickle. It is a tough, tough decision. What we decided was the best answer, and it was the best answer, by the way, because Magnus actually did not have his -1 damage. He had his +1 to, he had his +2 to move aura up. What we decided the best thing to do was to try to tank the Neophytes into Magnus, because we knew Magnus can't survive the Acolytes. But if we spent the overwatch here, there's nothing we could do to stop the Acolytes. So instead of using the overwatch, the Thousand Suns player played correctly, and he said, okay, I understand I'm about to get hit hard, but it's better to get hit hard here and not use my overwatch, which means you can't drop the Acolytes here. Because now if he tries to drop the Acolytes, he just loses them and they die. So the GSC player basically just can't do it. So this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes the threat of overwatching is going to be better than actually overwatching. Since the T-Suns player still has a threat of the overwatch here, Acolytes can't come down, Magnus has a chance to survive the Neophytes. If he kills the Neophytes, then the Acolytes get to come down and Magnus has no chance of surviving. So in this scenario, not overwatching is a way stronger use of Overwatch than actually overwatching. Now, to the GSC player's credit, he knows that no matter what he does, he's going to have to face the threat of the Overwatch here. So he did the absolute correct thing. He did not drop the Acolytes first. Had he dropped the Acolytes first, Rudrix would have just killed them and they're gone. And it would have wasted the 3-inch deep strike stat. Now, by butting the neophytes down first, he forces the T-Suns player to make a decision. And in this game, we love forcing our opponents to make tough decisions. So it's the correct decision for the GSC player to drop the neophytes down first, and it's the correct decision for the T-Suns player to not Overwatch there first. Now, I got one more crappy scenario that I kind of want to talk about here. Let me just hop right back into the PowerPoint real fast, because I've got a little bit of talking to do about this one. But trust me, I think it's going to help your game a ton. Failing the role. And if you don't know what the role is, play a little more Warhammer, because very oftentimes this game will come down to the role you have to make. And very, very oftentimes the role is going to be a charge roll. Sometimes games just come down to, do you land the 9-inch charge or do you not land the 9-inch charge? And yeah, you get a 9-inch charge, you get to reroll. It's like a 47% success rate if you get the reroll. It's like a 28% success rate if you don't get the reroll. So how do you maximize your potential in this game and minimize your reliance on making that charge? Well, I have one scenario I want to explain to you, and then I'm going to show you on TTS so that you can position correctly so that you're not at the mercy of dice nearly as often in your games. So I was playing in actually one of Trevi's leagues on Tactical Tortoise. Shout out to Trevi. And I was playing a game that I was crushing. I was basically guaranteed to win it. And then something happened. So I'm playing the game. I have set up a scenario where I have 2 units of knobs, and they both have 3-inch charges into a unit of aggressors with the fire discipline, and he's already used his Overwatch. If either one of those units of knobs make the charge, basically he's going to lose everything in his army, and he just loses the game. And they both have a 3-inch charge. Meanwhile, at the same time, I had a 5-inch charge for a unit of Beast Nagas going into a Repulsor Executioner. Yeah, I know, I was in an amazing freaking position. So what I ended up doing is I made the charge first with the unit of Beast Nagas into the Repulsor Executioner, and I failed the charge. I rolled a 4. So I spent my I was like, oh, well, you know, I have 2 3-inch charges over there. Even if I roll double ones on one, the other one I'll make. So then I re-rolled it. I spent my CP to re-roll the dice roll, and my Beast Nagas made it into the Repulsor Executioner, and they easily killed it because they were led by a Beast Boss who had the death wounds. There's no problem. And then I go to my first unit of knobs, Snake Eyes, double ones. It's only a 3-inch charge, but I rolled Snake Eyes, and I've already used my CP to reroll. I'm like, you know what? No big deal. I've got another unit. I roll the charge, Snake Eyes. Now, this is where you, this is when you find out if you actually believe in what you believe in. The question is, did I get screwed by dice by failing the charge I had to make? Or did I get screwed by my own decisions as a player? Well, the real answer is I got screwed by my own decisions as a player. I ended up failing both the charges, which gave him the opportunity to just completely wipe me, which meant that I more or less lost a sure thing win. So this was a great lesson for me. And honestly, it's a great lesson for you guys to listen to as well, because I could have just completely changed this dramatically. I didn't have to make the Beast Nagas into Repulsor Executioner. It was just kind of cool. All I had to do was kill those aggressors. That's it. That's the only thing I had to do. So in all reality, I did not, I mean, the dice rolls were bad, sure, but I wasn't screwed by them. I was screwed by my own decision. What I should have done is rolled one unit of knobs. If I failed it, spent a CP to re-roll it. And then if I failed that, I still would have had the other unit of knobs to also get to charge. The difference between rolling Snake Eyes once, rolling Snake Eyes twice, and rolling Snake Eyes 3 times in a row is dramatic. So basically what happens is I set myself up for failure. I should have rolled both units of knobs first and then rolled the Beast Nagas because I prioritized incorrectly. So I ended up losing the game because I made bad decisions, not because I got screwed by dice. Now, sometimes you guys will watch me when I play, and trust me, I'm about to get to TTS to really drive this point home. A lot of people will watch me on TTS or they'll play me in real life tournaments and they say, oh my gosh, Jonathan is a crazy aggressive player and he always goes for the 9 inches and he always lands the 9 inches. And it's just, I don't understand because when I play aggressive, I lose everything and I just die. Well, I am here to tell you that if you have to go for the 9-inch charge, yes, I am an aggressive player. But when you look at me and you watch me when I go for those 9-inch charges, because I do go for them quite often, actually. The thing that I do that you're probably not paying attention to is I don't plan on making my 9-inch charges. So when I have the roll that I have to make, what I do is I try to make sure that I can do everything in my power to not have to make that roll. Okay? So if I put my units in a position for trying to go for a deep strike 9-inch charge, I know I only have a 28% chance of making it if I have a CP reroll, or if I just have an innate reroll, I have like a 47% chance of making it. So here's what I do. I make a backup plan. So I'm going to go to TTS now, and I'm going to show you. And this is really going to help you guys as you are, if you're an aggressive player, or even if you're not an aggressive player, what to look out for. Okay. So let's go back over to TTS here. I'm just going to use these Death Company Marines over here as an example again against Mr. Gaskell's units. So let's say that I am in a tough position, and I'm like, cool, I really, really, really want to make this 9-inch charge. I just got to get these guys positioned correctly. Just bear with me for 1 second. Here we go. I really, really badly need to make this 9-inch charge. Perfect. Yep. Okay. So what I have done in this position is my Death Company Marines come down here. And I know that the game rests on whether or not I kill Gaz or if Gaz kills me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself in a position where I have the best chance possible to actually make this charge. Right now, it's a 9-inch charge, and the Death Company gets to innately reroll charge rolls. So if I make this, I've got like a 47% chance of making it. Then I'm golden. I'm going to hit these guys. I'm going to kill them, and it's going to be great. If I do not make it, what I have done, what most people aren't paying attention to, is, oh, you know what? Let's just actually even do this a little bit better so that I can kind of explain this a little bit more accurately to you guys. What I've done is I have put myself in a position that I have units. I have got models in cover. So if I get shot, I've got guys in cover with Armor of Contempt to take to save it on. I have move blocked Gaskell from getting into my back lines, more or less. And I know that I have 2 CP to fight on death. So even if I fail this charge, when Gaskell comes in next turn and charges me, and he comes in and slaughters me, I'm going to fight on death, and I'm going to kill him back. So what I did is, sure, yes, I went for the 9-inch charge because I really wanted to make that 9-inch charge. But I didn't plan on making the 9-inch charge. Instead, I had a backup plan, which was, if I fail this charge, I have the guys in cover that I'm going to have the Armor of Contempt stratagem to use, so they're going to be very, very tough, so shooting me is not likely going to work. And if he charges me, I have the CP to fight on death, meaning I can then kill him on the swing back. So I neutralize his threat whilst he neutralizes my threat. It's a much better way to think about the game, in my opinion, and it will absolutely reward you for playing aggressively if you have a plan for what happens when you don't make it. I plan on not making my 9-inch charges. If I make it, great. I'm happy. That makes things much easier on me. But if I don't make it, my plan is to not make it. So at the same time, I'm in cover, I'm move blocking, I'm controlling an objective. It makes the life so much freaking easier. So when you're relying on the roll, do everything you can to make sure that you do not have to rely on the roll, and your life will be much better, and you'll have more fun in this game, and you'll have a lot more success. And people will start saying, oh, you're so lucky. You always make these rolls. It's like, no, you're not all that lucky. It's just that you don't get punished when you don't make the rolls. That's the whole thing, because you've planned better. Anyway, guys, these are 3 crappy situations that occur in the game of Warhammer 40,000. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments, because I check every single comment. Sometimes I even take your suggestions for new videos. But however, most of the time, my new videos always come from my members in my private Discord, which, if you want access to that, it's very simple. You can just become a YouTube member or a member on Ko-fi, on Ko-fi, which the link is down in the description below. You can sign up at the Grots and Gits tier. You could sign up at a higher tier if you're looking for coaching, because I love doing coaching services as well. But you get access to my private Discord, and then you can actually request videos there, and we do tend to honor those quite often. Anyway, this was my video for today. I hope you guys had a great time with it. And, crump on. Bye.